The year is 722 after the Great Drowning. Today, the culturally Priestland region is divided into 3 separate nations: Tan, Priestland, and Yela. But it wasn't always like this. Once, up until 722 years ago, a united Priestland existed, ruled by a council of mages called the Council of Nine. This ancient Priestland reached from the Lydic Ocean to the Nemerian Sea, all the way from the western coastal region of Hortelor to Sandstrand Bay in the northeast. And beyond that, Priestland even included land that doesn't exist anymore. Off the east coast, facing the Nemerian Sea, the land used to extend further into the ocean than it does now. Countless islands dotted the old coastline, islands long forgotten, having found their final resting place at the bottom of the ocean, never to be remembered. All but one. One such nameless island was written about in a story that managed to survive the centuries. Supposedly the largest island of the coast of Priestland, it was home to its capital, the now legendary city of Lunam. A single historian's tale, written generations after Lunam was swallowed by the waves, speaks of its great wealth and influence. The writing tells of a city so large it rivaled the twin cities of Erokos in size. Kalapeti merchants sold precious metals here along with wines and wax. Paper, pearls, and perfumes were brought up through the Torrent Strait all the way from Etrelela, and somehow even the silk trade had made its way here among so much else. According to the text, Lunam was truly a sight like no other, with its diverse markets and architecture so much more elaborate than the rest of Priestland. It is also in this very historian's writing that we find the first and only mention of the Council of Nine, for it was the council which was supposedly responsible for the flood later known as the Great Drowning. It was their doing that brought death and destruction upon the people of Priestland, and, ironically, it was the mages' own power that proved to be their very downfall. But what exactly happened in Lunam 722 years ago, we will never know, for no one who was there that day survived to tell the tale. The ocean swallowed the island like it swallowed huge swaths of land. And so, from one day to the next, mighty Priestland fell apart. Waves broke the dikes, spilled out over the land, killed people and animals alike, and washed away entire cities. And when the waters finally retreated back into the ocean, the land had been changed forever. Not many written records survive from this era, but it was clearly a time of strife. Many people blamed magic for the catastrophe that had befallen them, and some took it so far to hunt and kill all mages they could get their hands on. Priestland, once known for its magic and wealth, was now ripping its own heart out, ridding itself of magic after its wealth had been taken by the sea. From this dark age emerged a kingdom of Priestland that fell apart as quickly as it had formed, then another. Neither lasted longer than a decade. Reuniting the region seemed impossible, so instead, over the next 100 years or so, the Priestland were established, a loose collection of small, independent states, all governed in their own unique ways. Some were ruled by noble houses, whose wealth had survived the Great Drowning, others by democratically elected councils, but importantly, none were ruled by mages. Those early Festendoma were not the same that still exist today. Most of them were much smaller than fragments of their modern counterparts. It was over the centuries that they grew larger and more official, though Priestland would never fully unify again. modern-day Priestland claims to be its successor, with its name being a literal translation of Priestland in the Dutrish language of the Holy Imperium of Eastbrund, which Priestland remains a vassal state to. In recent years, Priestland's puppet Fasten Nela Ingvill has made it abundantly clear that she sees herself as a rightful heir to all Priestke lands, and as such will surely one day try to make a move on Tarn, with the Imperium's might on her side. According to historians, the Great Drowning was the first and most devastating flood, but it wasn't the only one. About once a century for the last 700 years, another storm surge crashes into the region's now reinforced dikes and attempts to break through. Luckily, modern dikes are bigger and stronger than earlier versions, so no flood has broken through in a few centuries. Though if you believe in local farmers' tales, a longer break between floods means the next one will be much more violent than the last. And the last flood happened in 588, about 134 years ago. No living person remembers the flood of 588, and those that have heard tales about it are usually underwhelmed, for it was one of the mildest to ever hit the region. But now, almost 1.5 centuries later, anxiety grows in coastal towns and villages. With the last flood so long ago, the next one is sure to be especially devastating. And Tarn is not ready.